my name is Mattias Engman and this is my first screencast. I'm going to show how to create the cross mobile native application in C#. And to create something fun, I decided to do real-time chat application for iOS, Android, Windows Store and Windows Phone. I'm also going to create a web client in the HTML5 and JavaScript, and a real-time server. We're going to publish the real-time server and the JavaScript HTML5 client to the cloud. That's the first thing we're going to do. Just to summarize what we're going to do. We're going to create clients for native clients. iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and server, real-time server. Deploy to the cloud. If you want to contact me, you can contact me on Twitter. My name is Matengo. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. I'm going to turn on some music. So the first thing we'll do is creating a standard ASP.NET web application. Create a standard ASP.NET MVC application. We don't need any more application. Okay. Just to try that it's working. Try it in Chrome and in the Explorer. Yeah. Next. Just to simplify things, to delete some stuff. Right, now we have a single page website, web application. So now we want to install SignalR. First we can update or install navigate packages. set up our route. Just wait start up as to create our view. We need knockout SignalR. We also need our okay. Next thing to do is to create our real-time server hub. Okay, that's our server hub. Maybe I'll create the data transfer object instead. Call it chat message. I'll copy the name. Property message. That's our server. Now it's time to create our JavaScript HTML5 client. Listen for messages in client. Then we start our hub. Then we need the view model for view. Properties name, server mode. We need the send function. Okay, that's our view model. When we receive messages in the client, we're going to push that to our array. So and when we send messages, we use chat server and send message. Okay, we send in a JSON object, and that JSON object will bind to our chat message class in the server. Okay, that's the JavaScript we need. Now it's just to create all the HTML view. We need text box. Find that to value name. And then we need text box. Find that to our message string. I can see we don't have intelligence here. We need to bind a view model to our view. Find this view model. Okay. Message string. Then we need the button. Find the click event to our send function. Then we need a table to show our messages. Data bind over each messages. Data bind text name. Data bind text message string. Now we style this table with a bootstrap, with a bootstrap table class. And style it. Table striped. Right. We also need to update the packages. Try this. Right, it's working. Okay, that's our real-time server and our HTML5 JavaScript client. Now I'm just going to deploy this to the cloud, to Azure. Create a new website. Mobile chat app azurewebsites.net. We want it to run in the database. Alright, now we're up and running in the cloud. Tango in cloud Chrome. Okay, this is our real-time chat application. I'm just going to enable sockets. Transport web sockets. Okay. Okay, so next I'll create our native apps for iOS, Android, Windows Store and Windows Phone. First I'm going to take a short break, so I'll stop this recording. Okay, I'm back. My short break lasted for almost 1.5 months. That's not a short break, but anyway. It's time to continue building our cross-mobile chat application. In the first part of this video, we created a real-time server, a web-based client for our real-time server in HTML5 and JavaScript, and we deployed our server and web client to Azure. Now it's time to build our iOS, Android, Windows Store and Windows Phone client. I've already done that, so it took me about an hour. That's a bit too long for me to record, so I'll show what I did. Created a solution in Visual Studio and added a portable class library where we do all our C# coding. Then we share our portable class library. That's the core project here in our solution, Chat Mobile Client Core. Then we share this core project in our different mobile mobile projects for Android, iOS, Windows Store, and Windows Phone. In these different mobile projects, the only thing that we do in this project is the views for the different platforms. All the coding we do in our core. And we use Mvvmcross to bind the different views to our shared view model in our core. So to add a core project, it's to add a portable class library, just new project, portable class library, and target .NET Framework, Windows Store apps, Windows Phone, Android and iOS. Then to our core, I added SignalR using NuGet. .NET client, SignalR client that we use to communicate with our real-time SignalR server that we implemented and uploaded to Azure in part 1. Then we also use Mvvmcross to bind a view model to our views. So we use the MVVM pattern model view model. So in our core class library, core project, we have our models, view models, and in our different mobile projects we have our views. Our model is just a simple chat message. Our model chat message, that's the class representing our message that we are sending back and forth to the server. And the chat message class only have two properties, name and message string. That's our name and that's the message we are sending. Then we have our first view model. That's the view model that we are using in our different views. Here we have property messages, observable collection of messages, a name property and message string property. And in the constructor we inject a chat client service. That's a service that I created responsible for communicating with our SignalR server. So in the constructor we create a new hub connection to our real-time server in Azure. We create a hub proxy to our chat hub. If you remember in part 1 we had a chat hub. And then we have I lost my screen. I added a function called connect where we connect to our SignalR server, and we wait for incoming messages. We add the incoming messages to our event handler on message received event handler. Then I added a function send to send message to server, to our send message function in our server, send message function. Alright, and then just extracted the interface to our chat client service. And then in our first view model we inject our chat client service, our first view model. We connect to, we call the connect function to connect to our chat server, and then we listen for incoming messages. Listen to on our event handler for incoming messages, and when we receive a message, we add the message to our messages observable collection messages. And then I added a send message command in our view model, and that's the command that we will use to send messages from our view. So we will bind this send message command to a click event on our button in our view. When we click the button, we call chat service send, create a new chat message, and add our name and message string from the view model to the name and message string property in our chat message class. So we send a message to the server, and then continue with setting the message string to an empty string. So that's our first view model and our chat client service. And so now we use Mvvmcross to bind our first view model to our different views in our different mobile projects. To add the mobile project, just empty Android app, I added an empty iPhone project, and a Windows Phone project, and the Windows Store project. So in the different mobile projects we added Mvvmcross using NuGet, so that we can bind our view model to our views. So here in our Android projects, the only thing that's interesting here is the view, the first view. Right, so this is the XML view for our Android app. Here just drag and drop a text box for our name, a text box for our message, and a button, and a list view. This is what the XML looks like. A text box for our message, and a button, and a list view. And then we bind our first text box to bind that to our property name in our first view model. So bind to the name in the first view model, and then bind the second text box to our message string in our view model, and then we bind the click event to the send message command in our view model, and then we bind the item source in our list view to our messages observable collection in our view model. So that's our Android user interface, and we use the view model in the core class library. Our Windows Store app, we have first view for Windows Store app. The same thing here. Text box, bind to name property in our view model. Bind to name property in view model, and then second text box we bind to message string, Now a button bind to a send message command, and a list view bind to our messages observable collection in view model. That's our Windows Store app. And then same thing with Windows Phone. Text box bind to name, text box bind to message string, button bind to the send message command, and item source in our list bind to messages in our first view model. Okay. The iOS app. Here we have the first view coded in C#. To do it in, I'll show how to do it later in Xcode instead. Just drag and drop the text boxes and button and stuff in Xcode. We have to switch. I don't have a build server connected to my build host, a Mac computer connected to my network, so I can't build iOS app right now. So I'm going to switch over to my Mac later and do the interface in, do the view in Xcode and build and run the app on my Mac. Alright, to run our Android and Windows Store and Windows Phone apps, alright, so here we have our Android, very simple user interface, just the name, our name text box and message text box and the send message button. So as you can see, it's sent to our server, and our Javascript client is listening to our messages in real time through sockets. And if we send messages from our JavaScript client, it's sent to our Android device. Alright, so that's our Android app. To run our Windows Store, it's working. Some message from our JavaScript. Alright, and the same thing for Windows Phone. Alright, so this is the Windows Phone up and running. Okay. Okay, so that's our Android, Windows Store, Windows Phone apps. To see them working together, we can open the solution. Chat mobile client. Start Android app. And Windows Store app. So that's the Windows Phone, Android, Windows Store, and our web. Okay, they are all up and running and communicating. That's it for today, I think. The next step is to open the iOS, put it in Xcode and drag and drop the user interface in Xcode and build around the iOS app in the Mac. You can do it from Visual Studio, but then we have to have the build host connected to a network, a Mac computer connected to a network. Then we can build directly from Visual Studio. But I don't have that, so I have to switch over to my Mac and do the last part on our iOS client. User interface is not that pretty, so maybe later on we will make it a little bit better looking. Right, thanks.